Did you know that only 8% of people actually hit their goals? Wow. I think most people don't hit their goals because they just lose sight of them. They set their goals at the beginning of the year and then they forget them. And in this video, I want to talk about how to keep your eyes on your goals by tracking your progress. We'll go over a few methods to track our goals so we can be in the 8% this year. My name is Libria Jones. I am over 45 and fully invested in living this life to the fullest. And I'm sharing the things that I'm trying, the things that are working, the things that are not working on my path to self mastery in the hopes that it helps you live a more fulfilled life as well. It's kind of wild to know that 92% of people actually don't hit their goals. This is based on a study that was done by the University of Scranton. A lot of us are struggling to hit our goals, and it's honestly no wonder when we all have so much life happening all the time. I can honestly say, though, that I make the most progress towards my goals when I'm actually tracking the progress towards my goals. What gets monitored gets managed. So let's get into it. So let's talk about why tracking matters. Tracking matters. Tracking creates awareness. Awareness leads to intentionality, and intentionality leads to results. And we are trying to get results. Plus, focusing on your actions versus just focusing on your outcomes is way more helpful. It's pretty much what I've talked about in my goal setting. It's talking about the things that you can control versus desired outcomes. A great example is people that want to lose weight. A lot of times we obsess over what's happening on the scale, right? Instead, you should focus on your actual actions. The number on the scale is an outcome, which you should track for sure. But even better is tracking the number of times that you worked out. That is your action. It's also something you control. Plus, when you are tracking your progress towards your goals and even tracking where you failed or fell off or actually regressed around your goals, you're getting information that's going to help you make better decisions going forward. And that's what we want, really. We really want to have the self-awareness and the information about ourselves that's going to arm us with the information to make changes, to pivot, and to make improvements going forward. So let's talk a little bit about the tools for tracking progress. I'm going to go over two types of tools. One is just the general apps that track a lot of our habits and the things that we're trying to do. And then the other set of tools I'm going to go over are the planning and journaling and kind of repository type tools. I'm going to share a few apps that I use and then a few that I've heard that other people use. Now, these are all apps you've probably heard before. Maybe some of them are new, and maybe you have some apps that you want to share in the comments. Go ahead and post them in the comments and let's all get put on to the apps, all right? But I'm going to share a few of the apps that I've used and a few of the apps that I've heard of other people using as well. I'm going to start with fitness. Fitness apps are actually pretty incredible. I love having fitness apps that kind of track how much activity I'm doing, what my heart rate is, and all of those kinds of things. So a few fun apps that I've used in the past are MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal is something that I use when I was actually tracking my caloric intake and my macros. I was tracking how many calories I was eating. I was trying to hit, I think, 120 grams of carbs a day, 52 grams of fat a day, and like 150 something grams of protein. It's a lot of protein. But I was using that app to actually track the things that I was eating and get clarity on how that actually fell out in my macros and my nutrients and things like that. And I don't use that app anymore. It's a very tedious app. Tracking your food and tracking your meals is very, very tedious. I tracked it for about 4 months, I'd say. And I did that very intentionally because one, I wanted to make sure that I was hitting the macros that my nutritionist gave me. The second thing is I actually wanted to learn more about how to gauge eating healthy for my fitness goals, because eating healthy is one thing, but eating healthy for your specific goals and your specific scenario is a completely different thing. And so I use that app to track and monitor my caloric intake and my macro intake, but also to learn how to gauge what that intake actually looks like. So MyFitnessPal is actually, a really good app for that. I know there's a lot of other apps that people use as well. MyFitnessPal was the one that I used years ago, so it was the one that was most familiar to me. Other health apps that I like to use are, of course, I use the Apple Activity app, so I can see that I've closed my rings every day. If I've exercised, I can see that I close my Move ring every day as well. That's super easy to track, and it comes with with my phone. So, and it comes with my watch. So super, super easy. I want to mention that I have a scale that actually tracks my weight. So it actually tracks my weight every time I get on the scale. It goes into an app and I can see the trends over time, not just for my weight, but also for my body fat percentage and all these other things. Now, I will say I don't believe that these scales are that accurate when it comes to things like body fat percentage and visceral fat and stuff like that. I think it's just, bells and whistles that they've added. I don't think that it's all that accurate, but it's at least directionally correct. So if you see your body fat percentage going down on the scale, then it's likely going down in real life. Though the scale that I use is by Fit Index. There's a whole lot of them on Amazon, all kinds of different. I think Sharper Image has a scale. I think so many people have these scales. But the one that I use, I will link it in the description box. It's probably here on the screen somewhere too, because I'm going to add it as a product to this video, just in case that's something that you want to get to track your weight over time. And then I know a lot of people love to use the Peloton app. So I'm part of a couple of Peloton groups. I have the Peloton app as well. And a lot of people chase those blue dots. So I have one friend who has gotten a blue dot every single day for like 2 or 3 years or something like that. He has like a 2 or 3 year streak. So he's able to track his workouts using the Peloton app. So there's a lot of health apps out there that track how much working out you've done, how many calories you've burned. And I think it's a really, really great way to kind of gamify your workout and your fitness goals, as well as give you information about how often you're working out. So if you don't have a fitness app that you're using, go on and use one, especially if fitness is one of your main focuses for the year. Finance. The number of people that I have come across that have no idea how much money they get and spend every month is wild to me. I don't even understand how you don't know. And that's not me judging, that's just me kind of being blown away. Like, really? What? Not judging at all. I do think it's important to really know what your spending is. What are you spending the most money on? How much are you spending every month? How much money are you getting on a monthly basis? I use an app called You Need a Budget. It's called YNAB. And I really like this app because it literally tracks every single dollar. As long as I connect all of my accounts to it, it's going to track every dollar that I spend. And it's basically zero-based budgeting. So I'm able to budget the money that I have, not future money. It's not a forecast. It's how much money do you have right now and where does that money need to go? And I get to create all of the expense categories. It's not a one size fits all budget. It's not even a 1 year fits all budget. You can adjust your budget as you go because you are only budgeting the money that you currently have. I really, really love this app, and it gives me spending reports as well and shows me where I'm spending the most money. When I look back on 2024 and I did my 2024 review, the amount of money I spent on travel and my daughter were insane. Part of it, though, was I paid her tuition last year. So it was her first year in college. So I spent a lot of money on tuition last year for my daughter. All that to say, I think it's really, really great to have an app. I will put a link to YNAB in the description box. I will also put a link up here. Full disclosure, if you sign up, I do get a referral bonus. No, I don't get a referral bonus. I get like a month free or something like that. So full disclosure, if you sign up, I get a month free. It doesn't cost you anything extra. Also, full disclosure, I will tell you, there's a bit of a learning curve with YNAB. It's a completely different way of thinking to use this app. And so I actually read the book and I took a few of their free workshops, and it took me a while to get used to the app, but I've been using it now for, about 4 years, I want to say, and I can't get off it. I love it. I love it way too much. It's exactly what I needed, and it completely shifted my mindset about money. I'm still not where I need to be when it comes to fiscal responsibility, but I am so far from where I was, y'all. So very far, and this app has helped me get there. Now, a lot of people used to use Mint. Of course, Mint closed down last year, and a lot of people transitioned to Credit Karma, which is another app that you can use to track your budgets and spending and things like that. I have never used Credit Karma. So I can't give you any opinions about Credit Karma. I'm just sharing it as another tool that I've seen people use. I'll also say, ain't nothing wrong with a good spreadsheet. I'm an Excel girly. I used to spend my entire life and day in Excel. I actually sometimes still build some financial plans in Excel for old time's sake. Well, not in Excel, in Google Sheets for old time's sake. Actually, my long-term financial plan is still in a Google Sheet. So there's nothing wrong with a nice spreadsheet as well. And then there are some people on Etsy and other places that sell spreadsheet templates that you can use as well. If you don't want to figure out an app, there's a whole lot of people that sell spreadsheet templates, which I used to manage my budget in a spreadsheet. Actually, the guy that started YNAB, he built YNAB from him and his wife's family budget that used to be in Excel spreadsheets. But all that to say, ain't nothing wrong with a good old spreadsheet. If that's the app that you choose to use that. Credit monitoring is another one. I think this is another great way to track progress towards a goal. I know a lot of people have this desired outcome, also to some called a goal. For me, it's a desired outcome to get their credit score to a certain number. To me, that's a desired outcome and not a goal because it's not something I control. I control the actions that I can take to hopefully get my credit score to a certain point. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. I talk all about that in my video about how to set goals the right way. You can check that video out after we finish talking here. Anyway, I use MyFICO. I've used MyFICO for a very, very long time. MyFICO is the company that actually started FICO scores. They are the ones that pioneered and created FICO scores, which is why I choose to use that versus anything else. I think I pay $29.99 per month, and it tracks and monitors my scores across all 3 credit bureaus. I get alerts whenever anything changes. If my information is on the black market, I get alerts if my score goes up or down, or if anything changes in my credit profile, I get an alert. Even if my score doesn't change and my balance just went down, I get an alert for that. And then I get a free credit report with all 3 credit bureaus every quarter. So every quarter I get a free credit report with a credit score. Now I will tell you, as a side note, as an aside, everyone in the United States of America is entitled to 1 free credit report every year. Now, the website that is run by the government, by the United States government, is called annualcreditreport.com. There's a whole lot of companies out there that will tell you that they're offering you the free credit report, but the only one that is built and maintained by the federal government to implement this law that we all get our credit reports is annualcreditreport.com. That is where you get your annual free credit report. And then, just so you know, some states also offer a free annual credit report. So that's 2 you can get for completely free. That's just an aside. Before I move on, I do want to say that that credit report does not necessarily include a credit score. That is your credit report, which is the information that is on your credit report. It doesn't necessarily include your credit score, just so you know. Now, back to monitoring your credit score. I personally use MyFICO. I will put a description to it, I will put a link to it in the description box. I really do love this app. I signed up for myself, and I also signed my daughter up for it as well, so that we can continue to track our scores, and I can actually see my scores over time. Actually, I can actually see the trend for my scores for the last several years to see how it's been doing. Another app that people use is Credit Karma. So this is where Credit Karma actually kind of got its legs back in the day. It started offering free credit scores to people. And they do offer credit scores from all 3 credit bureaus as well. I think both of the apps, I again have never used Credit Karma because I've been a MyFICO girly for a very long time, but I think both of them offer simulations as well, where you can look at different scenarios and see how things might affect your credit score, like paying down $1,500 of debt per month. If you do that over the course of 18 months, what will your credit scores be? So they have all of them, I believe, have simulators. I know for a fact MyFICO does. And the other thing I want to call out about MyFICO is that they have different types of scores. There's so many different scoring systems, it's not even funny. But one thing I noticed is that when you look at MyFICO's mortgage score or car loan score, when I bought my house in Tulsa, the score that was on the credit report that the bank that gave me my loan printed out was the exact same score that was on MyFICO for mortgages. So when I clicked on mortgage, it was the exact same score, because MyFICO is the one that usually, or FICO is the one that's usually giving those scores to these businesses. So that said, that is another reason why I use MyFICO, because again, they created the scoring system and they're usually the ones supplying businesses with the credit score. And I've seen it with my own eyes. It is very accurate. Let's move on, because this video is not about credit scoring systems. Another app that I use to track and monitor something is sleep. I am trying to get more sleep. I'm trying to get more sleep and better quality sleep. Those are the two things I'm kind of working on, is my overall sleep hygiene so that I can get more quality sleep, more better quality sleep. I recently got my Sleep Number bed out of storage. I freaking love that bed because it also comes with an app and it gives me a score every single day to tell me how well I slept. So I'm always like trying to get a good grade. I'm always trying to get like at least a C or higher. I'm trying to get like a 70 or above basically in that bed. It tells me exactly what time I got in the bed. It identifies how many times I got out of bed, how much restful sleep I got, and how much non-restful sleep I got. It's a really cool thing to track. It's not something I look at every single day, but there are times where I'm just curious, so I will go and look at that. It's tracking it on its own because, it's connected to the bed. Some people actually have the Aura ring, that also tracks sleep and a number of other things. I've seen a lot of people wear the Aura ring. I've been thinking about getting one as well because I'm thinking about getting rid of my Apple Watch because I really only use it for working out and to find my phone when I can't figure out where it is. So I've been thinking about getting an Aura ring. If someone can tell me if it's really accurate on counting steps, then I'd be down. That is the only real reason why I wear my watch so much, is because I want to close my move ring and I want to hit 10,000 steps. But some people use the Aura ring to really kind of gauge how well they're sleeping. The Aura ring is decently expensive though. I will call that out. I think it's expensive. I don't remember how much it is. I think it's like $300 or something like that, or maybe more. And then you've probably got to pay a monthly subscription to get the data, because that's what everybody's doing these days, charging you to get your data. And then the last app I'll call out is habit trackers. So a lot of people like to use habit trackers to, put in the habits that they want to monitor, and then just going and checking off those habits as well. There's apps for that, but of course you can just kind of create a habit tracker on your own and check those things off on a regular basis. But those are some of the apps. Let me check my phone and make sure that that's all the apps that I have that I use for tracking. If you're trying to get less screen time, there are screen time apps that you can track, but your phone tracks that as well. And so does Instagram, and Facebook tells you how much time you've spent on those apps as well. Is that all? So finance, yeah, that's it. That's all I track. Yeah, those are my apps. hmm I want to actually this year, I actually would love to add an app that tracks how many flights I've been on, how many miles I've traveled, just for fun, just for the heck of it. Because I always wonder, like, how many flights have I been on? It's one thing to say how many places I've been, but like, how many actual planes have I been on? Because a lot of times I'm connecting. I estimate that I probably was on 60 flights this year at the very least. Sounds like a lot. That's a lot of flying. That's why my back hurts so bad all the time. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is planning, project planning, and journaling tools, because I think that apps are nice to track. Some things are very easy to track using apps, and then some things are very easy to check boxes on. But I also think that it's necessary to look at this from more of a holistic view, and to look at some of your goals as projects and then track those projects. I also like the idea of journaling as well, because that's another way to track projects. If you're not so much of like a project planner and this needs to be in this place, and you're more of a I need to write things out type of person, then journals help as well. I actually kind of use both in together, and I'm going to explain that after I finish rambling about what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to list these out in order of like ease of use to easiest to most complicated, I guess. Starting with notebooks. I love to see people utilizing notebooks for their goals. There's a whole lot of folks here on YouTube that they just use notebooks to stay organized, notebooks and planners to stay organized. And I think that's really awesome. I used to be very much into planners. I remember back in the day, my mom bought my first Franklin Covey planner, and I loved that thing. I had it in college and I've been hooked on planners ever since. Now, of course, most of my planners are just digital. I actually have a planner that I use to journal in. We can talk about that another time, where Every day I just write a couple of sentences about how my day went in the planner. So it's actually more like a journal for me. But using a notebook is perfectly fine and perfectly okay, so long as you have a system and you have it well organized where you can go in there and track your habits, your goals, and write about where your progress is towards your goals. Let me give you the name of a YouTube person that you should check out if you want to do this via notebooks or planners. Her channel is The Organized Money. Her organization skills are out of this world, and she has all kinds of notebooks for all kinds of different things. Like, she is so big on notebooks and planners, and I think it's really cool. I love watching her videos. Same thing in Apple Notes. So it's very, very simple. If you have an iPhone, you have Apple Notes, it's completely free. And you can do the same things that you would do in a journal. If you're more of a digital person and you want to be able to have access to your stuff at any place, then using Apple Notes is do it, go for it. I'm actually been looking into how to maximize the use of Apple Notes. Apple Notes recently released a whole lot of new features that seem to be really cool. I just watched this YouTube video on Apple Notes. I haven't really had the chance to dig into how I'm going to use Apple Notes this year, but I'm gonna watch this video again because I think I was doing something while I was watching it, but I'm gonna watch that video again and see how I can maximize the use of Apple Notes as if I need another app. And then spreadsheets, a good old spreadsheet. Listen, I'm telling you something, ain't nothing wrong with just a regular old spreadsheet. Put your goal in one column, put the status in another column, put the due date in another column, and then just go write notes. Create a notes column, and every week or every month when you're doing your review, just write the notes of where you are. Keep it simple, guys. Let's keep it simple. Nothing's wrong with a spreadsheet. And if you're a old school Excel girly like I was, and you still love a spreadsheet, ain't nothing wrong with using a spreadsheet. I know everybody on this app, everybody on the YouTubes are talking about Notion and how Notion is the end all be all to goal setting and templates and managing your life. It is fantastic. You know what is really, really fantastic? Whatever works for you. If spreadsheets work for you, go and use your spreadsheets, friend, and use them with pride, okay? And then there's Asana and Trello. Asana and Trello, I kind of put them in the same category. They are project management tools that I have used for years. Honestly, I've used them for a very long, long time. I like them because they're very, very easy to use. The learning curve is not very high. They're free. And they have Kanban boards, which is basically the ability to set up all of your goals in cards and put them on a board so they're all visual in one place. And typically the cards are to do, in progress, and done. That's like the typical, baseline of the columns, or the statuses, I should say. But you can set those cards up however you like. You can create more statuses so that you can move your goals through each of those statuses, or you can set those columns up to be the categories that your goals are in. You get to do whatever you want. I'd say watch a couple YouTube videos on how to use Asana or Trello. And if you're interested in starting to get into more project management tools, those are tools that you can easily use and easily learn. And the good thing is once you create these cards, let's say you put your goal on a card, you can actually open that card and start to put notes in there. So when you do your reviews, which we'll get to, you can come in there and update the card and put all of your data in there and continue to track where you are that way. And then there's the queen of them all, Notion. Notion is having a moment. Notion is like right now the Beyonce of project management tools and operational tools. It's just such a powerful tool. It's so very customizable. You can pretty much do almost anything with Notion. And for some people, that's a great thing. And for some people, that is actually intimidating and it scares them away because it's too powerful. And you go in there and it's a blank page and it's just a blank canvas. You can do whatever you want. And for some people, it's like, ooh, I just need you to make this for me. Anyway, I love using Notion because I can do a lot of things, including what I used to do in Trello and in spreadsheets. So if you're a spreadsheets person, if you've been using Asana and Trello and you love the ease of those, all of that stuff exists in Notion. You just have to set it up. And that's what I like about Notion. I can set it up however I want. I can have spreadsheets over here. I can have a database over there. I can have a Kanban board over there. I can do pretty much whatever I want. I can also just have pages and things like that. So I actually love using my Notion template because it lets me do project management, but it also lets me do journaling and have just a general repository. Think if somebody put a journal Oh, okay. Here's the best example I got. If someone pulled together spreadsheets, um, Asana slash Trello, and Apple Notes and Pinterest and put it all in one place, I can do all of the things that I do across all of those platforms in Notion. That's why I like Notion so much. They are not sponsoring this video, y'all. I'm just a huge fan of Notion. And if y'all want to sponsor me, holla at your girl. But I will put a link to Notion in the description box and up there as well. Full disclosure, I do get a little bonus if you sign up for Notion. Do I get a bonus or do I get a free month? I can't even remember. Anyway, if you want to sign up for Notion, go ahead, friend. Sign up for Notion. It is actually free. The paid version, I forget what happens with the paid version, but there is a free version. And if you pay, it's $10 per month. I pay $10 per month to use Notion on my own. I pay a little bit more for my business because I have other users in that Notion, but my personal Notion, I only pay $10 a month. So those are pretty much the tools that I am using to track my progress. Those are the apps and then the tools that I am using to track my progress towards my goals. Honestly, the magic is in the system of doing weekly and monthly reviews. And the way I think about it is tracking is not just about logging data. When I pair that with reviews, it's also about reflecting. It's also about reflecting to see where my progress is, where the systems are working, where things are not working, where I need to tweak, where I need to lean in. And that helps me constantly understand where I am towards that goal. And either I can run faster or I realize that I am on pace. And so I love to do a weekly review. Weekly reviews are kind of key for me. And I will say, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't always make the weekly review. All right. Human. No cure for being a human. And so sometimes I fall off that routine. But for the most part, I'm doing at least 2 or 3 weekly reviews every month. I might miss one, I might miss 2, but I am going to endeavor to do a weekly review every single Sunday. That is what I try to do. And in that review, I'm not just tracking progress. I'm not just reflecting on what needs to change. I'm also celebrating wins. I'm also giving myself a pat on the back and saying a small yay for staying on track, because we got to keep ourselves encouraged. What that song say? Encourage yourself in the word, okay? So sometimes we have to celebrate those small wins. I'm using that time to celebrate the wins for that week and really kind of get clarity on where things are and what I need to do the next week as well, because I'm doing a weekly review, but I'm also doing a weekly plan to set myself up for success the following week. I want to keep this video as short as possible, so I'll do another video on how to do a weekly review. But a few things I want you to keep in mind while we're talking about methods for tracking goals. The first is, don't get too overwhelmed by tracking too many things. I know I listed out quite a few things. Some of these things are just being tracked because it's just part of how it works. My watch is automatically going to track how much activity I have. My bed is automatically going to track how much I'm sleeping, right? But I think it's important to identify what are the areas or categories of life that you really want to be focused on, and what are the key goals that you are trying to hit, and let that determine what methods and apps you're using to track goals. Because you don't need everything. You literally don't need all the data. You don't need all the data all the time. So don't get yourself overwhelmed. Just think about what is my main focus and priority, and what's the data that I can continue to track and monitor, and what are the things that I can do to regularly update the progress towards my goals. The other thing I will mention is to be as honest as possible. There are times where we don't do well, or we do something wrong, or we fall off, or we make mistakes. Don't avoid that information. So if you're doing your weekly review and you're typing in your journal, or you're typing in your updates for how you did on sticking to your budget, well, if you messed around and spent $5,000 over your budget, go on and say that. Let's just go ahead and be honest. If you are tracking your food in MyFitnessPal, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna be really, really honest with you guys. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. There were times where I just didn't put some of the stuff that I ate in MyFitnessPal, and I was acting like if I didn't put it in MyFitnessPal, it didn't count. Baby, it's still in your stomach though. It's still in your bloodstream. What are you talking about? And so I was like, why am I tripping? Let me just put this in my fitness pal, because as I'm sending, every week I'm sending this stuff to my trainer. So I was trying to kind of hide it from her, but the results wasn't matching what was in my fitness pal. And I was like, why am I tripping? I can't hide this, and there's no point in hiding it. If we collect this data, we can see a pattern for when do I tend to fall off and when do I tend to throw my hands up and say, F it, I'm just gonna get some Chinese food. I actually figured it out. A lot of times when I come back from a trip or when I am sad, I order Chinese food. It's basically when I need to feel, it's my comfort food. It's basically my comfort and relaxation food. I order Chinese food. So anyway, all that to say, continue to be honest with yourself when you're tracking and monitoring your data and doing your updates and tracking your progress on a week to week and month to month basis. Go on, be honest. Let's just keep it real. If there's anybody that you need to be honest with, it is yourself. And this is not about judgment anyway. It's just about self-awareness on our road to self-mastery. All right. All that to say, I know I shared a lot, and I know tracking your progress might sound pretty tedious at first, but I'll be honest, I think the rewards are completely undeniable. Knowing yourself well and understanding your progress towards your goal it's just unbeatable. And what it's done for me is it's helped me gain clarity, build momentum, and feel in control of my journey towards my goals. And I like being in control of myself. And just as a reminder, what gets monitored gets manage. So monitor your progress. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. And since I talked about reviews in this video quite a bit, my next video is all about how I review my week. So check that video out, and I will see you in the next one.